there's been a significant spike in the Federal Reserve balance sheet. And so people might be asking, why does that even matter? It matters because they've been printing more money to pay for treasury bills, right? It means more money in the economy. When it's going up, Bitcoin and other cryptos typically go up, right?
So we're seeing a bit of a bid back in the AI space, which I think is super interesting. Maybe a nice little reflection of what's being sort of spoken about just in the broader AI sector. I know a lot of people last year were talking about AI bubble. Now we're starting to see analysts come out and say, well, it's not really a bubble anymore. So that maybe is having some sort of reverberating effect in crypto.
What's happening in the ETF space?
That's kind of the opposite story. So hey guys, welcome to a new year of tapping into crypto. Ted, how are you?
Fantastic, Pab. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I know you were just chomping at the bit to get back into the show. I know we've had a few weeks off.
We have had a few weeks off, but we had some stellar episodes in between there. If you haven't listened to them, go check out our Christmas wrap-up and also our scams awareness episode for 2026. That's an important one to listen to. But, Pav, more importantly, how was your break over Christmas?
It's good. Took 2 weeks off, much needed, rest and reprieve. Basically went to like a Big Four, which if you're not aware, it's just a big family park. Just water slides all day with the kids.
Hell yeah.
Everyone's got wicked tans. So it was a good time.
And so do you.
Yeah, so do I. Kilo and a half heavier. So I think that's like a New Year's resolution. Try and get that under wraps.
And the camera's going to add an extra 10.
I've heard.
Yeah.
So I'm going to see you at the end of this episode. Yeah. How about you? How was your Chrissy? Any good presents?
Really good. Yeah, mate. New coffee machine, new rice cooker, all the stuff for the house.
New rice cooker too?
Yeah.
Mate, how'd you do that?
Oh, mate. One set of parents, the other set of parents.
Okay, that's how you do it. Okay.
But
we're not here to talk just Christmas gifts. I do want to also emphasize what Ted said. Like, if you did miss last year's episodes, we did sort of do a bit of a refresher on what happened in the year of 2025. So, if you are keen to hear like just a bit of a reflection piece, I think that episode was actually really, really good for that. And also just giving our thoughts on what we think is going to happen this year. So if you're looking for a bit more of a predictions vibe, go check out that episode. But I think today we talked about it like, we just summed it up. We've been on break. I haven't been looking at anything for the last 2 weeks. So we thought, what better way to kick off the year than just bring everyone up to speed?
Yeah.
Sort of give our take on what's probably the most important thing to watch from here. Just get everyone back on the same page.
Sounds like you need to be brought up to speed as well.
Look, this was a bit of that too.
Well, look, I think the key story right now is the markets have flashed green, like significantly for the first time in months, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of green in the altcoin market. Bitcoin's having a little bit of a time in the sun as well. So we're going to cover it all. Give our thoughts on why this is happening. I know your thoughts differ from mine a little bit. So it's a little bit more of a positive time to be talking about crypto. Which it's a good start to the year.
That's it. Yeah, it's like it's going better than the Ashes. Let's just put it that way.
Well, if you're an England supporter.
Well, just the game of cricket, mate. That was like what, 2-day test? That's not cricket.
Yeah. Look,
we're not going to talk cricket.
But listen, I think the big story is what is driving the markets right now. I think there was a big geopolitical event that happened in the last couple of days, obviously involving the US and Venezuela.
Fireballs.
And some fireballs, yes.
Yep.
Look, I don't know why the market would have responded positively to that, but it looks that it is one of the catalysts for it. But me and you spoke about this before. Like we can't see a reason why, unless like it's for boosting the US economy.
Yeah, like you could say like the whole thing of like, well, they're going to claim all the oil, they're going to sell it, it's going to fix like the deficit, it's going to do this and do that. But I still think like if you look back at historically with markets, it's very much a reflection of emotion. So like until there is, I know this is where we spoke about we might have differing opinions. Like I still think like we need to see a bit more confidence, like reasons for the market to be confident for a rally to just keep going. Everyone thinks crypto's up, it's just going to keep going up. Kind of just caution in the wind that yes, I think we maybe rebalance a little bit because we are very oversold in my opinion. But could we potentially still see a bit of chop, maybe some other bad news? What if someone else invades someone else and it's maybe seen in a different light? Like there's still a bit that we just don't know. It's second week of the year.
Anything's possible. And I think it's also important to call out that I think Michael Bazzino, one of the guys, analysts based on the Gold Coast, he summed it up. He's like, in previous markets, we have seen sort of a relief rally following like a 3-month drawdown from an all-time high, which is exactly, it's been about 3 months, 2 months since the all-time high happened in October, November. This appears to be a relief rally. Whether we can maintain it is remains to be seen, or whether we do go into a bear market, which we've seen before.
But stay in tune, because we have got a few key dates to keep an eye on, because that's going to be probably our next big tell as to, do we get a bit more of a doable rally?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing to call out as well is there's been a significant spike in the Federal Reserve balance sheet. And so people might be asking, why does that even matter? It matters because they've been printing more money to pay for treasury bills, right? Which means more money is entering the economy. That doesn't mean it's going to be chucked into crypto and other risk-on assets straight away. These things take time because, treasury bills aren't exactly, crypto risk-on assets. But it means more money in the economy, which typically bodes well for, those more riskier asset classes, because we always look at the likes of M2 money supply correlating well when it's going up. Bitcoin and other cryptos typically go up, right?
Yeah, and another big point around this all is there's that new Fed chair that's coming in later on early this year. So I think May is the date. So there's just some buzz around, well, if anything's good news, it's only maybe going to get better, because we're going to get someone that Trump basically signs, seals, delivers. He's happy with being in that position.
The idea is he will reduce interest rates.
Get the job done.
Basically making more money in the economy, right?
Yeah.
To put it in a very layman's man's terms.
Yeah. But so like you said, I think could be some front running activity. Maybe people expecting this is just a start, it's going to snowball. But I still sort of caution, well, what if something else happens that we're just not expecting? So just keep that in mind. But let's go with the top movers. I think this is the most exciting thing to talk about, because we've been starved of talking about top movers for quite a while now.
We had to ditch the segment for a little while.
We did. We benched it big time. But let's talk about it. So we look at a snapshot from today. So we're recording Tuesday. We're seeing in the last 7 days, the biggest mover is actually Render. So we're seeing a bit of a bid back in the AI space, which I think is super interesting. Maybe a nice little reflection of what's being sort of spoken about just in the broader AI sector. I know a lot of people last year were talking about AI bubble. Now we're starting to see analysts come out and say, well, it's not really a bubble anymore. They think that AI stocks are actually quite valued quite fairly. So that maybe is having some sort of reverberating effect in crypto. I've got a quote here from the man himself, Mr. Ray Dalio. The AI boom is an early bubble phase. That's kind of how he summed it up in a most recent article. So I kind of pay that too, because as much as we'd like to think it's a bubble, bubbles tend to be a lot more euphoric in the past. I think the one key thing about a bubble is no one sees it coming usually, whereas everyone was calling about this one at the back end of the last year for months and months and months. So
I think I also called it out an early bubble a few months ago.
Did you?
Maybe Ray's listened to the pod.
I think he is.
Maybe.
Shout out Ray if you're listening.
Shout out Ray. Yeah, appreciate you.
Appreciate you tuning in every week.
But AI seems to be the talk of the town.
Yeah, it's back in vogue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I know that I use AI every day. Like I've sort of swapped out Google search for ChatGPT a lot of the time.
Yep. And
at work we use Gemini a lot. So these sort of things, like it's not similar to, well, I wasn't around in the .com bubble, but that seemed to be more just based on hype and based on anything that has a technology based name. Yep. Whereas this is like products and services that people are using every single day.
That's right? It. Yeah, it's completely different. And the crypto sector, it's just reflecting what the broader market's thinking about AI at the moment. According to Bitformance, which is a bit of a price tracking app, the whole sector's up 21.5% in the last 7 days. So it's one of the best performers right out there in the market as far as category goes. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. And Render's been silent for I'd say almost a year and a half now. So
yeah,
a little bit of a return to form.
Good to see. One to keep an eye on. Next on the list, we've got Pepe and Bonk. So two prominent meme coins.
Yep. Probably the two darlings.
Pepe's up 55% in the last. 68% in the last 7 days. So very strong performance there. Bonk around 59%. So a bit of appetite for memes back on the table. Shiba Inu's in the top list as well.
Yeah, didn't expect that. But we're also seeing Dogecoin up a pretty similar amount as well. Sui up 31%. Pump.fun, probably one of the more, we're talking about the new age of crypto. I think everyone's expecting projects to now have some sort of revenue line similar to your traditional stock market assets. That's probably one of them out there that's done quite well on paper. Up 38% as well. And then WorldCoin up 28%. So again, just that AI theme breeding through as well. But
interesting.
I know we've got XRP in the top movers as well. Ted.
Everyone will be happy to hear that.
Yeah.
I know we have a lot of XRP fans in the audience. Yeah. Back in the green. Had a really strong week. What are we up? 30. Only up 26%, 7 days. So I think I was looking into this, and there's been some large inflows in the XRP ETFs that launched late last year.
Yep.
But because of the market, we didn't see too much adoption of those ETFs. But I guess now institutions and other investors are starting to pump some money into those funds, which obviously reflects well on the XRP token itself. Another little catalyst potentially is SEC Commissioner Caroline Crenshaw has stepped down from her role at the SEC.
Okay.
And why that's significant is Caroline was sort of, of the old sort of crew that was against crypto, particularly crypto ETFs. And obviously the SEC had a very strong legal case against Ripple and XRP, which was eventually dropped. But I guess it was just like, people may have considered her as still a little bit of resistance at the SEC.
Right, a bit of a friction point. Okay.
Exactly. So now she's stepped down. And obviously we know that, Paul Atkins, the current SEC chair, he's quite bullish on crypto, or at least, he's got crypto regulation as a top priority.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else?
Man, I think in terms of top movers, that's kind of covered a lot of it. I know, like, the first thing everyone's probably wondering is, like, is this an alt season? Like, are we there?
Interestingly enough, I'm not brave enough to call it myself at the moment, but I was looking through Twitter or X and looking at some analyst points, and analyst Michael Vanderpop. Have you heard of him?
No, not familiar.
Okay.
So it kind of sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time. I don't know if he's like, he's one of those hype-driven analysts.
Right, okay.
He's more like the Benjamin Cowan type ones.
Right, okay.
Not that Benjamin Cowan would say the following, but he stated that an altcoin market cap has held, the altcoin market cap has held crucial support and is ready for a big leg upwards to a new all-time high. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I guess if we look at it, the altcoin market cap's sitting around $950 billion. So this is excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think the all-time high sits around 1.15 trillion. So it's still a 25% increase to that. But he's saying, it's held resistance, and he sees the next point of, interest is up at a new all-time high for altcoins, which would be massive for the market as a whole, right?
Yeah, I think so, because I think everyone, again, like the emotion is very much centered around altcoins more than Bitcoin these days. But let's just see what the next few weeks have to offer. I mean, I'd love to see it as well, but I think everyone's willing to sometimes. There's a million people that call the bottom, but it wasn't the bottom. So I'll be waiting to see how I think the market responds in the coming weeks.
Look, it's a brave call. He's putting his neck on the line.
He is. But it's a point, like, again, if you have a view, like I know we've talked about in the show before, if you're just averaging in, like, you're not trading this stuff, you're just looking at points when the market's down, you're just adding to the things you've got conviction in. You're more likely to see probably more upside than downside, you'd like to think, after seeing the sell-off that we saw. So yeah, we'll wait and see, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think he makes the point as well, like just sellers are exhausted now, and it's time for the buyers or the bulls to come and have some fun. Yep. So
not against that.
Yep.
Now, as we mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to bring everyone up to speed on some big news that caught our eyes since the start of the year. I think a lot of these things, there's some big fundamental elements to them all that are going to impact the market in some way right now, but also in the coming weeks as well. So the first one I want to talk about is BitMine. So we talked about some of the companies and funds out there that are accumulating assets as being like one of the big drivers from an institutional perspective. BitMine is one of the largest ones, if you're not aware, sorry. They're doing pretty much the same sort of strategy that Michael Saylor and Strategy are doing on Bitcoin, but they're doing on Ethereum. So their whole game is just Ethereum.
You know what frustrates me about that?
What's that?
The name's BitMine. BitMine should be Ethmine or something.
Yeah, I think the clarity there is it was just an old company that was doing Bitcoin mining, but they've just sidestepped, but they still haven't got to the point where they've renamed or picked a name.
Good to know, yeah.
So what do you prefer, ETHMine?
Yeah, or just ETH Invest.
ETH Invest, yeah. But they've added another 82,000 Ethereum worth roughly 260 mil, probably a little bit more. That's in US dollars with the last few days of rallying. And again, what they've starting to see as well is that with Ethereum, because it is a stakeable asset, there's a queue to get in and there's a queue to get out. We're actually seeing congestion on the way in. So if we're talking about positive signs for the market, when there's more Ethereum looking to get into staking pools and actually remain locked up to earn yield, rather than looking to get out and be sold potentially on exchanges, that's potentially quite a bullish sign. So it's currently a 16-day wait for people to enter that queue.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty unheard of. Yeah. Usually it's the opposite problem. Usually there's like a 16 to 30-day wait on the way out, people trying to get out of the market. So currently there's only a 1-day queue to get out. So that's really, really interesting.
That is bullish.
So if you're wondering and playing along at home, they now hold about $12 billion US dollars in Ethereum, which puts them just miles ahead of the next competitor, which is SharpLink Gaming at 2.7 bill. So yeah, they're not playing. And Tom Lee's also one of the directors of the company, so very famous guy from Fundstrat. They notoriously called the bottom back in 23, 22 in the stock market when everyone else was saying that we're going to go further. So, they got some pretty leveled heads over at BitMine, some pretty big bulls. So they're obviously seeing now as a really opportune time to add to their already huge holdings.
Yeah. Big time. Well, what's happening in the ETF space?
That's kind of the opposite story. So we're starting to see some stabilization at the start of the year. But what's the biggest thing to know about ETFs, especially through the back end of 2025? We saw the largest period of outflows. So we spoke all last year about how bullish things looked. The BlackRock and even like the Fidelity guys were buying month on month. The net change was positive. We've now seen the largest outflows. So November to December, we saw a $4.5 billion outflow in spot ETFs for Bitcoin. So that's just set like a new record. But I mean, we did see a 20% decline in Bitcoin. I don't know, we spoke about it probably a month ago. Like, if we get institutions coming to the space, an asset like Bitcoin, when it's down 20%, is it just something we should expect that we're going to see people de-risking, rebalancing? It's not like you're going to get your diehard hodlers like you probably had, a couple of cycles ago. So, maybe this is just a new flavor we need to get used to, that when the market goes down, we do see consecutive red days. But I think for me, what's positive is we haven't seen selling to start the new year across these products. It's been in the black, so almost $500 million worth of buying yesterday, which was the first business day. I guess take from that what you will, but it was definitely not a good end to the year for the ETFs, which were definitely like a huge positive news story for last year. But yes, definitely something I would say if you're looking for a proxy for how is the broader market perceiving risk, the ETFs are a great way just to understand how comfortable do people feel with Bitcoin? With
Ethereum, it's more
Solana.
institutions, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of retail don't typically see ETF as a vehicle for investing in crypto.
No.
But it gives you a good idea of the institutions who do have, big teams of investors and traders who are looking into these things 24/7.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's a good indicator of like what sort of the smart money's doing. But at the same time, like as you said, these investment funds and institutions might just be de-risking. They can't afford the 20% drawdowns because in TradFi world, that's like all stations go, like panic stations, right?
Yeah, and they're always rebalancing, so this is just nothing new. Like again, if Bitcoin starts performing, probably see them do the opposite, right? Well, hopefully. It's what we saw, I think, at the start of, end of 2 years ago, back in 2023 at least, so we'll see.
Well, speaking of investment banks and large institutions, Goldman Sachs, so I think they're probably top 5 investment banks in the world. They've just released a report or a statement around crypto saying crypto regulation, particularly in the US, is going to drive the next wave of crypto adoption. And also the expanding use cases is going to grow these economies and these ecosystems in crypto. So they're talking about use cases just outside of trading. So typically the main use case for crypto up until this point has been trading,
just
right?
Speculation.
Invest, speculate.
Yep.
Sure, there's been other apps that you can, DeFi and gaming and things like that. But the main aspect has been, or the main sort of use case has been trading.
Yep.
But they say, once we see new regulation, more institutions are going to come in. And they also see that, the expanding ecosystem offering more use cases and more opportunities to get involved for users is going to grow these economies and grow the market share of crypto worldwide.
Yeah, I like that, especially when you got supportive people around that whole environment, like Paul Atkins coming in as SEC chair. So less people looking to dock people points, more people trying to help people up get their foot up on things. I think again, like the US want to be the crypto superpower, right? So they have to be accommodative and provide the best environment possible. So.
Absolutely, and you said it there. Like Paul Atkins is prioritizing crypto regulation. It's just hard in the US because Congress, both parties have to basically approve these bills.
Yeah.
We've seen the stablecoin bill, which is called the Genius Act, come into fruition. That took a lot longer than people anticipated.
Yeah.
And so more regulation around Bitcoin or even like DeFi might take longer than initially thought, particularly this year because we have the midterms at the end of the year.
Yes.
And things get like...
Is it the end of the year, the midterms?
Yeah, it's November.
Oh, right. I thought, okay.
Are you able to tell me, is this a time where people get pretty sort of, they take low risk moves in order to not, to keep their spot in Congress or in the House?
I mean, you got to think from both sides. They only want one thing, and that's to basically set them up for the next.
Yeah,
the next.
They want to maintain
cycle.
their seat or maintain their spot.
So I guess they'll do whatever it takes, right? I think that'd be a really interesting one to start to play along and maybe follow a bit closer as we get closer to it, because everyone will be starting to play some games. I feel.
I was actually looking, and I wanted to understand, like, the last 50 years, how has this midterm year, which is the second year of the new president's cycle.
Yep.
How has it performed in the stock market, right? Crypto's too infant to fully understand it.
Yep.
Stock market's actually well underperformed compared to the average. I think since like 1960, it's had a performance of like 0.3% up, whereas the average year on year is like 8.7%.
Yeah, okay.
Something around that. So
it's a bit of a spectre, maybe.
I guess people are just like, there's risk of uncertainty, right? And so they want to see how things play out until the midterms, and then they get a bit more runway for the next 2 years until the next election to understand, okay, this is how things are going to play out.
Yeah, okay. I'd say the only thing to that is like we saw it last year, expect the unexpected. So as much as like seasonality data told us it was supposed to be a bull market at the end of last year, we didn't get it as much as people expected. But
yeah, and I suppose just for anyone wondering like how this impacts crypto is crypto typically is correlated to a lot of these asset classes, particularly the stock market and some of those more risk on assets. Like money will flow from commodities to stocks to tech stocks, into the crypto world.
Yeah, it's just underlying conditions because for all those other things to be doing quite well, there usually has to be supportive policy around it. So it just is a reflection of what's happening broadly. So,
but in positive news, as part of that Goldman Sachs thing, to just tie that off, they reported that I think it was around 77% of banks are stating that they plan to add more crypto to their balance sheet in the next 12 months.
Yeah. Okay.
So hopefully that will drive some sort of upward trajectory movement for crypto.
Yeah. Should we kick into the next section? What we think is going to be worth watching heading into the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So for me, the FOMC, so I speak about this one to death sometimes. So the Federal Open Markets Committee in the US, they're responsible for a lot of things. But the big one is interest rates. So we saw, we covered it pretty closely at the end of last year, how the momentum swung from everyone expecting a heap of cuts to no cuts to then they delivered a cut. And the importance there is, like, as Ted just said, like the easing of policy usually sets the tone for how much risk people want to take in markets. Crypto is just a reflection of that risk. So we're going to see for the first time this year, after the wave events last year, we saw the government shutdown, which resulted in a whole bunch of data not releasing. We now have got 2 months in a row of things like jobs data, as well as unemployment data, and also growth data. So that's going to give a bit more. I think it's just going to give something a bit more solid for when they do make a statement. It's going to be like a bit more data driven, hopefully, again, so people can sort of know what to expect. But the big thing there is obviously are we going to see rate cuts? How much? We still, like we spoke about at the top of the show, got the new the FOMC chair that's going to replace Jerome Powell coming in later this year too. So I think it's going to be a nice little one that maybe we do start to see easing continue. And this could be our first little taste of understanding, well, what does that look like? Because again, the market just prices in what it knows. So if it knows that there's more easing likely coming, we might see some front running, might see a lot of people get excited, similar to when we saw that first cut back in 2024, what it says, 24 or 25? I have to fact check myself. It's 25, sorry. Yeah, so we saw that first rate cut. Everyone started front running that. So could be a similar vibe as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, unfortunately, like for the next few months at least, I don't think everything that's going to impact crypto significantly is going to be outside of crypto, right? I think it's going to be geopolitical conflicts. Like I think that's going to be a hot flavor of the year. Obviously,
you've got a spicy take on.
Oh, look, I just think other countries, may see the US doing this and think, okay, it's our turn to do it as well, because we know that they've wanted to do it for some time. I'm not going to name drop anyone, but let's not get too political. No. But these things do impact these markets. Yeah. And I think, if we see that continue, particularly what's happening in Venezuela and like how that plays out will make an impact. I think a lot of people will be sitting on the sidelines because there's so much uncertainty in that space, whether it be in the Middle East, whether it be in Russia, China, the US. It's just like, it's too hard to call right now.
Yep. No, I back that quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think the only other thing we've been keeping an eye on at the back end of last year as well as this year that could have a big impact for crypto as well is the new spot ETFs. So I know they're talking about different flavored ETFs this time around. So baskets, a group of assets, as opposed to we've just seen, just Bitcoin, just ETH, just Solana. So we might see a bit more of a structural demand return in a different way. Again, particularly as a lot of these banks are now upping their recommendations, saying that you should, we recommend you hold X% of Bitcoin. I think I saw one of saying a 3 to 4% in diverse basket of crypto assets. I think that's Bank of America most recently said that. So Just another point as well throughout the year. I think there's some dates coming up more recently that in the near future, that'd be another thing to keep an eye on. But I can't move away from that whole geopolitical piece just because we've seen that really just, again, as much as we see this rally right now, there's, again, the market doesn't like things that it can't plan for. So I'd be just worried about those sort of things. But you can't just sit on the sideline forever just thinking someone's going to invade someone.
Yeah, that's true.
But it'll be interesting to see how these next few weeks play out. I'm really keen.
Well, we might as well leave it there on that note.
Yeah. And for those playing along at home, might notice a bit of a different backdrop.
Oh, yeah, we forgot to call that out.
Yeah.
Why are we here again?
Because we had no equipment at our usual spot.
Yes, that is correct. But look, this is a lovely studio. This is the Project C Studios here in Brisbane. So, yeah, it's a very lovely space. So thanks for letting us use it. But yeah, we'll be back again next week, probably in our usual spot. Covering all things crypto updates and whatnot. But make sure to check out those Christmas episodes and the scams episodes. We've also got a number of interviews from the Australian Crypto Convention on YouTube. So check that out. There's some really good guests there.
Yeah, there's the full length ones up. We only had like the snippets previously. So yeah, definitely go check it out if you're just wanting a different take on how some of the more thought leaders in the market are thinking about 2026 as well. So really good takes.
Awesome. Alrighty. Thank you, guys.
Easy. Catch ya.